had to kind of get rolling. We were running a little bit behind this morning. My name is Houston. I am only going to be your driver on the way out. So once you guys get there, make sure you take all of your stuff with you because you will have a different driver on the return. A couple of you asked, just so everybody knows, it's about a 50-minute to an hour drive, kind of just depending on how many red lights we hit. So sit back and relax. If you guys are sitting on the right side of the coach, you'll be water side, so you'll have views of the water pretty much the entire time. If you are on the left side of the coach, you guys will have some of the city views. We are going to be traveling almost the entire length of our road system. So here in Ketchikan, we've got about 30 miles worth of road, and you guys will be going almost all of that today. So some fun things to see, kind of scenic. As it is an hour, I will try not to talk at you for an hour because that's a lot of talking. But I will definitely tell you guys a little bit about Ketchikan, and then when we get into town, I'll tell you a little bit about the town as well. And if you have questions, it's really hard for me to hear you over the defroster. But if you shout it up, people might be able to repeat it if you've got a question you want to ask. But welcome to Ketchikan. You guys are here at just the very, very, very tail end of the season. Tomorrow is the very last ship of the season, so you are the second to last. Ketchikan is the 5th largest city in Alaska. It doesn't really feel that way sometimes, especially when you guys are docking all the way out here. It kind of seems like we're a nothing little town. Where you guys are currently docked, you're at Ward Cove. There is 9 miles until we are in town. There are more ports in town, but this is just where the Norwegian ships come to, is out here. The forecast originally for today was stormy and rainy all day, so you lucked out. Ketchikan is the only city on the island of Revilla-Gigedo. So that is where we currently are. This big chunk of rock that you guys are on is the island of Revilla-Gigedo. The island itself is about the size of the state of Rhode Island. Okay, so if you can think of that in your mind, or I don't know, look at it on a map if you really want to. It's actually a sizable chunk of land, but we inhabit just a very, very, very small little bit of it. So I think I said we have 30 miles of the road. If you measure from downtown, we've got about 16 miles in the northern direction, which is this way, the direction we've just come from. And then it's about 15 miles or so in the direction south. So it dead ends at both ends. There's not any like little dirt road that it converts to. It just kind of dead ends in a cul-de-sac at each end, and that's all she wrote. All pretty much right on the water. We also don't have any bridges or tunnels or anything like that connect us to any other landmass. So we are a completely isolated, independent island. The only way on or off is by boat or by plane, which I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The weather and kind of ecosystem here. So Ketchikan is probably the rainiest city in the United States, or possibly even North America. We get roughly about 15 to 17 feet of rain a year. That's feet, not inches. So we get a ton of rain. And as we drive, you can see the ground is wet. It rained last night, and that's kind of the way that it is. We get it rains, they say, about 300 days of the year, which is accurate. But when people hear that, they sometimes think, just kind of a downpour every single day for 300 days. And that's not really the case. It'll shower here on our right as we're passing it. Across the channel, that is our airport. It's just a tiny little thing, is that brown building with the black box on top. It's got 3 whole gates. I think we have about 5 or 6 outgoing flights a day, about the same incoming. in the summer, that goes up quite a bit more as the fishing industry and everything kind of picks up. But this parking lot right here is actually the parking lot for the airport. So this is airport parking, which is partially why the speed limit kind of dropped so quickly. We have to take a ferry in between the two islands. So the airport is located on the island of Gravina. It is another just island just across the channel, and there's nothing over there except for the airport and some private residential homes, a handful. And they do some logging over there as well. But there's no businesses, no anything like that. And to get across, again, we have to take the ferry. They at one time did discuss and even had plans for a bridge. It was like $1 billion project, literally. And it was titled The Bridge to Nowhere. Because the island has an airport and all that stuff, it's actually, the zip code is like nowhere. It's a big joke in town. You can look it up. You can buy t-shirts over there that'll say like, I've been to Nowhere, Alaska. Kind of a joke. But they decided against the bridge ultimately because that channel gets so much traffic, especially in the summer. Fishing vessels, ferry vessels, cruise ships, things of that nature. They decided that the bridge would have to either be built extremely high into the air, that it was just not plausible, or it would have to, of course, be a draw style, but with how much traffic we get, they would have to be lifted kind of up way more than they would be down, and then that would impede the flow of traffic to the airport. Freight containers. This is how we get all of our stuff. So since we are an island, we don't exactly get serviced by the trucking industry. We have to have everything barged up to us. So that couch you bought on Amazon, our groceries, dog food, everything comes in on the barge. And it usually comes about twice a week. It'll come once from the south, from the Seattle area. That's what's going to have most of our groceries and pretty much everything. And then it also stops once coming down from the north, generally coming from Anchorage. When it comes from the north, it's usually a local shipping freight. So you want to just literally pitch a tent, which that is what a lot of people opt to do. You can pitch a tent on the deck, or you can find a corner in one of the inside viewing rooms and just roll a sleeping bag out. Like when I do it, it costs me about $1,800 to get me and my truck and my dog from here to Seattle. So just keep that in mind. It can be a little bit cost prohibitive, especially to families, which is why sometimes people feel like they're a little bit stuck. As of right now, we are passing through. This is the industrial, quote unquote, industrial side of Ketchikan. All of these buildings on the right-hand side that we're passing, this is our fish canneries and our fish processing plants. So the fish industry and the tourism industry vie for the number one, economic slot here in Ketchikan. We do, of course, have a huge tourism and cruise ship industry, but we also have a very, very huge fishing industry. On the rest of your trip, briefly, if you have not heard it, we've got 5 different types of salmon that are the most well known. You've got your king, your sockeye, your chum, your silver, and your pink. Those are the 5 most common types. And every year, just the price of the salmon kind of differs, so it changes what is available, what's caught more, etc. As we come up on this tunnel up here, this is us entering downtown Ketchikan. For many of you, if you did not get a chance to pop into Ketchikan this morning, you may feel a little bit resentful that you didn't have an opportunity to come explore. You will see all of Ketchikan as we drive through, and I will promise you, you didn't miss much. The only thing that Ketchikan has that Juneau doesn't have is about 37 jewelry stores that you just haven't explored yet. So pretty much it's exactly the same. The only big thing that we have is Creek Street. That's really significantly different. I think the architecture and just the types of stores and everything is very similar. So just don't feel too bad that you chose to do an excursion instead of coming and walking around town. But you guys are seeing town at a great time of year. It's usually it's kind of like Disney World. down here. You know, thousands of people walking around. It's a little bit chaotic. Kind of take it all in. Here on our left, if you're on the left-hand side, you're going to see our big Welcome to Ketchikan sign. You probably have seen it in some pictures. Right about there. It's the most inconvenient place in the world. People like to flock the street right here to take pictures. Please don't be that person. And as we're going through, you'll notice most of these stores are closed. Like I said, the season is officially over as of tomorrow. So a lot of these, especially the jewelry stores, they are seasonal and they usually follow the ships. So once the season starts to slow down at the end of September, they usually will pack up and go south and follow the ships to their southern destinations. You know, the Caribbean, Mexico, wherever it be. They're usually the tallest one in the group. The red cedar and the yellow cedar, they're the ones that kind of blend in the most. But it's their bark that's kind of diverse. It looks like you can just peel it off in one long stream. So as we're jumping around and you're looking at these trees, and try to just kind of notice the differences. Then we only have one species of deciduous tree, and that is the red alder. The red alder here does not really, they don't turn any colors, which is why you see very, very few fall colors in this part of Alaska. What you do see is mostly the underbrush or other species of trees that people have kind of planted in their yards. But as we go along here, you see right here on the right-hand side, some of these deciduous trees are still green, but they're not turning at all. What will happen is that, or you'll see some up here on the left-hand side that already lost their leaves. They pretty much just turn brown and drop. They don't really turn a beautiful color. There that is. So that is home to, it's like a cultural park where you can go see the totem poles. If you pay admission and do a tour, you can see kind of a native dancing performance that they'll do. They have an active carving shed there where they can do a bit of a carving performance or demonstration. So Southeast Alaska, as you may have or may not have heard on your trip, I'm unsure, is home to Alaskan natives. Here in Southeast Alaska, we have Haida, Tlingit, and Tsimshian. So the Saxon Park is most predominantly Haida and Tlingit, not so much Tsimshian. It's only a native reservation in the entire state of Alaska. So it's a town called Metlakatla, and it is home to almost entirely Haida, Tlingit, and Tsimshian. And again, it's the only reservation in all of Alaska. Kind of an interesting thing. The town itself is on the other side of the island, so you can't really see it from here. It's a relatively small community. They're fairly self-sufficient. For anything like medical services or anything like that, they generally will commute to Ketchikan here. Ketchikan is one of the Southeast Alaskan hubs for all sorts of different services, medical services, sometimes even just grocery shopping. There's a lot of small communities dotted on islands all around us that people will travel in.
Sarap ng buhay mo dyan ah.